Good morning, everybody. It's celebration time. It's International Women's Day. And the theme this year is Break the Bias. So, why on earth do we have International Women's Day? We're celebrating all of the women in our lives, our mothers, sisters, partners, daughters, colleagues. We all contribute to the world, yet in our world, women's contributions are undervalued. They are underestimated. And this is a day to celebrate all of our contribution in the world, in the workplace, in the home, because we all do amazing things. In the world we live in, as I mentioned before, there is still bias against women, whether it is in countries where there is limited access to education or that the lifestyle of women is very limited compared to men. And yet, there is so much research to say that if you educate women, it will mean that they will lead villages, they will look after the money, they will build businesses that will look after families far more than men. Based on this research, I'm not spending my time being nasty to men, but this is the concrete evidence. But all over the world, in different sectors, women still experience bias against them and discrimination. So this year, I'm obviously an opera fan, and I'm going to Glyndebourne, and I'm going to see Ethel Smythe's opera, The Wreckers. Now, she wrote the opera over 100 years ago, and yet it has never been performed professionally. Hooray, this year it is finally being performed, and it is a fantastic piece of music. I wonder if she was not called Ethel, if she'd been called Edward Smythe, her opera would have been performed earlier on. And certainly within the opera, within the music world, fantastic female composers from Alma Mahler through to Ethel Smythe experienced discrimination. Either their music wasn't very good, they put higher standards for them, or they actually said that it was a man that was writing the music. And that is a real example of how women have been held back and their talent has been held back. Language that we use is still discriminatory, and it impacts the bias that we have. Boys will be called natural leaders. They will be fated for being aggressive and assertive, yet girls will be called bossy. They'll be called aggressive and bitchy. They need to be kind and calm and gentle and generous and a team player. Isn't it interesting? And in recruitment, this really makes a massive impact. Men are paid more for the same job. If women are negotiating pay, time and time again, the evidence is that they will get less money than men. But also, there is so much evidence to say that if you have two CVs identical with the same references, the same experience, the same qualifications, the man, once it has a man's name on it, he will get paid more, and they will consider his potential. For the woman, they will question her credibility and say she needs more experience and pay her less. So this is something about Break the Bias that we really need to think about. So one of these things with bias, and obviously I'm doing lots of talks and workshops on Break the Bias, is about stereotypes and the messages we have from early childhood within our culture, the media plays a role, doesn't it? And this is never based on scientific evidence. So when you have two candidates, a woman, and they question her abilities, that she needs more experience, and yet the man, oh, he's got the potential to do better. That is not based on science. That is based on bias, an unconscious bias. So what do we need to do? Because all of these biases are not based on evidence, whether it is about women drivers, or in my case, being an award-winning business owner, there are still a minority of men that come up to me, and the first thing they say is, why are you here? And the second thing they say is, what does your husband do? And that is still going on. And these things, they impact you and your confidence. So what can we do to make sure that we break the bias? So one of the areas that you could really make a difference is when you are recruiting women. Only yesterday, I was speaking to an HR director who had found a brilliant female director. She went to the board to get approval because it was a senior role. And guess what happened? Everybody else in the room was a man, and they said, oh, but she's divorced, she's got 3 kids, she'll leave within 6 months. There was no evidence of that. And she had to fight very hard to get this incredible, talented candidate to be offered the job. And that is going on now with the men. It's showing unconscious bias. So what can we do? If it is promotion like that, if it is that we are choosing a supplier, if it is that we are choosing somebody for our team, think about what you're saying. Think about the decisions that you are making. If you're able to take more time, I call it sleep on it, because it just gives you a moment to think about why you're making those decisions and actually question your decisions. Are they based on real facts or on your unconscious bias? Because we all have it. So this is the real way for us to break bias. So it's International Women's Day today. Thank you very much for your comment, Mark. I am creating my own ebook on breaking the bias, some top tips related to that. I will put the link below and be sharing that if anybody wants to grab that. So everybody have a great day, and let's celebrate International Women's Day. Break the bias. Bye-bye.